Alright, the first one went too long. Alright, so here's my final video for Game 380. Professor Whitworth, thank you so much for everything. My goals this term were to learn about AI and the sensory perception systems in Unreal, and then I decided to explore the team affiliation stuff, and also at the same time to use this opportunity to learn as much as I could about C++ because I haven't had really any exposure or experience with it during school at all, really. Just one class, and it was mainly procedural generation of meshes and stuff like that, and nothing really gameplay related. So things I picked up and learned on. It's like I've created AI controllers from scratch. I created behavior tree tasks, behavior tree services, implemented animation interface for the NPCs. I created the NPC character class from scratch. I figured out how to implement animation montages and set a material instance at begin play to change the color of the skin of the default mesh to so we could tell them apart during testing. About stimuli source components and the setup stimulus for the NPCs for the AI perception system. Um, Things I'd never done before, and at the same time, I also learned exactly like um, how U properties worked. Like this makes them editable in the editor. Like I can set the faction, set the unit type, and then the unit type is in here. I use an enumerator with all the different unit types, and then these are a drop-down menu in the editor, and same with the teams for the factions. Um, so I learned a lot of stuff how to handle not just AI, but just basic programming tasks in Unreal using C++. Here in the editor, we have the classes and things I created, right? So like this is a task, this is a task, which I'm actually going to delete this one. I didn't use it. The animation interface is, I'm not exactly certain why. I was just following a tutorial for that, and it said make the animation interface, but I don't think I actually need it because I'm just calling the montages. I might need it. I don't know. Um, the different tasks that for the behavior trees, and then I've been trying to figure out flow control in the behavior tree. So here's the behavior tree that I have so far for um, Team A, the green NPC. This stuff is supposed to happen when she sees the commoner because it's a neutral. But if I put it in there, I've got to put another selector in there somewhere and still figure out the flow. Flow control is where I'm working right now, trying to figure all that out. But it's relatively complicated, way more complicated than any of the other behavior trees I've ever made. So that's pretty cool. So if it can see the player, it overrides everything. And then if as long as it cannot see the enemy, and then if you play this investigating, it's with the sound, hearing, perception. When it hears a sound, it sets is investigating to true. It runs over to the target location where it heard the sound, and then checks it out. And then based on what it finds, it does whatever. So if it sees an enemy, it does its enemy thing. If it sees a player, it does the player thing. Otherwise, it goes right back to the random pathing. I also made one for the commoner, which is very simple. If it sees an enemy, uh, it calls the guards, and if it doesn't see an enemy. If it sees the player or the friendly, it just waves or salutes the player. It's as simple. This commoner is supposed to be very simple. It's not supposed to have any combat. Eventually, this is just like your background NPC. You know, they'll be standing around talking to each other, just doing different animations to each other, and then I want them to react to other players and NPCs, and they do. This one does anyway. And then this is what I'm talking about in the U property. It's like I added this one, and I added the distraction sound and the animation, unit type, faction. You can set this, and it will change. Like if you do A, B, or C, it changes the color of the commoner in the game. And then this is the different unit types that I'll be using for other things. One of the things I tried to do, I was getting kind of tired of having to make 3 different copies of something if I wanted to, like say if I want 5 variations on Team A character. One of them with a shotgun, a couple of them with mid-range weapons, one of them with a sniper, for example, or a healer. Why couldn't I, in the constructor for the NPC, by the team ID, because I can set this right here. So when they're spawned in, why can't I use that in a switch case statement to set the AI controller and the behavior tree and all this other stuff that'll be different between all the different flavors of the Team A NPCs, and then have another switch case inside that one that, based on the unit type, sets the mesh and the animation blueprint and stuff like that. Well, you can't. I read a lot about it, and I tried so hard to automate some of this stuff, and it just doesn't work. It might work. Like, somebody might be able to make it work, but I did so much research, so much reading, trying to figure out how to set the AI controller, because it's obviously settable, because it's right here. AI controller class. You could do it here. You could do the auto possess. This stuff. I should be able to access this this function and set that as a default during the constructor, but I couldn't make it work. It's a little beyond me. As I learn more, I want to get it to work, because I think it'll simplify anything. All I have to do is set the team and set the type, and then it'll do everything else automatically. All the other work will be done in code. I just press one button and boom, it generates an NPC. But that's outside the scope of the project. But I did waste too much time on it this week. It didn't work. But so here we have here's the commoner right here. Again, he'll salute the player. He'll wave at the guard NPC over here, and this is the enemy NPC, and he'll call the guards. So I set him up actually to make a sound that this one will hear and come running over and then do their thing. So there's still some flow control issues, but here we go.
Enemy spotted!
So it spots the red one. The red one's stuck because it breaks when it sees the commoner. All right, I haven't put a task in or action for when it sees the commoner. I was just mainly working on Team A and the commoner and how they react to each other. So we saw him. He's going to salute me, right? And here she comes. All right, let's do this. She'll come running because I made a sound. So, yep, he waves. The green one is now broken on flow control. It should be going back to patrolling or waving at the commoner, but I broke her. See, that's what I'm having trouble with, is the order of operations in there. Yeah, he's going crazy. He's saluting, he's waving, he works. He's very simple. She'll continue to chase me. She can't jump.
Enemy spotted!
Yeah, and for some reason, after the first time, she won't react to his sound, even though she should. Now they're stuck on each other. Yeah, I don't get it either, but it's a thing. So, I mean, coupled with everything I've picked up in C++ and what I've learned about AI, and I have the foundations of a decent system once I figure out more flow control and the behavior tree. See, now you spot it. It should, if it's making the sound, it's setting the is investigating tag, and she should be running to the target location. her hearing radius is just enormous. 4,000 units. Like, she should be able to hear it. So she can hear me, but for some reason, the noise event that the NPC generates doesn't do the thing. Here she comes. Yep, they waved at her as she ran by because player interaction supersedes everything else. Yep, well, it's a foundation. There's stuff to do, stuff not to do, but I am grateful for this experience. I'm happy that I picked up so much stuff and I know where to go with it, which is it's a big thing, right? Thank you very much. And I'll be around your Discord for a while until you ban me. So take care.